Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're going to take a look at BloodCraft, and this one of course is more of an aggro BloodCraft, which is what a lot of decks are running. I have seen of course some control, but I would definitely normally favour aggro Blood and Unlimited myself, as it is probably one of my favourite decks as far as blood goes in general, outside of course Bat Blood. This in particular is running a fairly standard engine, ending at 4, which is pretty good. It does mean that your turn 1 through 3 is usually reasonably consistent, because you're always going to have something to play. Now of course, the best thing to do is just of course slam as much damage and self-damage as you can, take full advantage of stuff like Dark General, Omen of Lust, and Florist to your advantage, and deal with anything with stuff like Snarling Chains, Razor Claw, and just evolve effects. So we're going to get right into it and check it out. So this deck is definitely on the quicker side normally, as far as things go. That doesn't mean that's always the case, it's just the most likely one. So going second definitely is not favourable. Even in the forest matchup, it's not the ideal situation to be in. And this hand is not perfect by a long shot, but it's one I'm going to take. Mainly because I have Snarling Chains and Blood Pact, which give me a decent chance. I am going second, meaning I'm going to get 2 draws, and Valkyrie is a nice card. So while it isn't the best hand, it's a hand that I can actually work with. Taking the risk of mulliganing them away and getting things like Florist in my hand would be a lot worse. Even though that is pretty low odds for that to happen, it's not a risk I want to take yet. I also don't tend to force Florist too much. I'd rather use my cards to my advantage and rely on Lust than rely on Florist a lot of the time. Which is why you'll see a lot of the time I'll waste some spells here and there. Not all the time, but sometimes. So I was hoping to get a 0 cost. One more 0 cost and I could have triggered the Florist out of my deck, but I'll accept what I've got and work with it. Peerless Shot hurts, Snarling Chain hurts more. And this deck is designed around trying to keep your health at about 10, but in this situation against Forest, I really just wanted to get this healing on board now, so I could take full advantage of the Razor Claws. And they just ended up passing turn 5, which I thought was a little odd, but I rolled with it. That's what you gotta do. This is the kind of deck that you want to play when it comes to that. You don't need to think too hard, but you do need to manage your health well. There's Will of the Forest. That's probably what they were aiming for. They wanted to make sure they had a decent way to deal with this. But dealing with it back to back, how well can they do that? I have considered Dark Feast Bat in this deck. It's definitely an option, but I wouldn't make it a priority. There's the Rhino Roaches, so they are definitely aiming to go for me now, but luckily my healing's pretty much going to screw any decent Roach play combos they're aiming for, especially with so few cards in hand. And from here, it's really just a matter of biding our time. Valkyrie is pretty soul-crushing to handle, as it does buff itself, and they are going to be taking 1 damage a turn now. So all we need to do is draw 1 card. Any 1 card from our deck that deals damage would be pretty much game over for our opponent, which is why they did concede. Blood videos are always typically on the shorter side, mainly because there's not much to show off for blood decks as far as it goes. Dark Feast Bat and most other blood decks are so fast that it doesn't really matter how many times you show it off. It always follows a very similar strategy, basically no matter what you're versing. Although in the rune matchups I do like to go all in, I do like to just spam as much self-damage as I can, which is why I of course kept both Omens of Lust as well, because I want to deal with any potential wards that they may play, but mainly Blood-Fed Flowerbed is going to be a key card in this match. And Insight is not a good way for us to start this game off. Making them see that is going to be shocking, but we are going to be on a really big damage now. Double of the Blood-Fed is going to really push up our counter of self-damage, which is going to make our Omens of Lust pretty much perfect plays. They should actually be active next turn, I think, based on that counter. We're currently at 6, so if we could have got the Disciple of Lust to go off there, we could have been playing them. Although Gift of Bloodkin is going to allow us to do it as well, so why not roll with it? We're going to take this game very easily at this point. And it is going to make for, like I said, a reasonably short video. The only unfortunate part is we didn't have our Evo, which is a little disappointing. We should be able to get, of course, Omen of Lust next turn. We're going to get a ping this turn. We're actually pretty much set up for lethal at this point. Doesn't really matter what we draw. Especially since they left up the 1-1 and had nowhere to get rid of it. Which just made it all that much easier for me. I also ended up with the Blood Pact, which the odds of getting something decent were probably reasonably high. If we didn't win this turn, we definitely would have won by next turn. And ending the game is a nice way to go. So I know this video was very bite-sized, but honestly there's just not a lot to show when it comes to these blood lists. It's pretty straightforward. Aim for your early cards, play as much self-damage as you can while maintaining, of course, around 10 health so that you can take full advantage of stuff like Dark General. Pull out Florist where you can, but don't force it too much, and then just use Omen of Lust to really get that extra damage in with Storm and remove potential threats that could be an issue, along with, of course, any other cards that you want to do that with, and you'll pretty much win most games like that. It's very hard to just straight out lose unless you can run into a full-on control deck or someone just absolutely creams you with, of course, a similar style aggro deck. But if you guys did enjoy this video, you can hit the like button and subscribe for more content. You will find this deck list in the description below. Until next time, see ya.